you can tailor your management approach that way, because we tend to come from a position of thinking about ourselves. So you hate micromanagement. So what do you do when you lead? You don't want to micromanage. You're like, I hired adults for a reason. I'm not going to babysit. I'll let them do their own thing. And that will work fantastically for part of the workforce. And there'll be another part of the workforce that feels like, why is Matt not paying any attention to me and he's not helping me? And so that same exact approach that works really well here can work really poorly over here, and understanding, no, some people are going to need a little more hands-on. They're going to want more of that one-on-one time with me. They're going to want more of that feedback from me. You can tailor that approach where appropriate, so we can maximize the potential of that person. They're going through interview rounds for this position, and I said, definitely take a look at that one. And I said, you're probably not going to like her in the interview. She's going to probably rub you the wrong way. I know, because it's very different personality style between the owner and the interviewee. I said, but man, she's going to be on top of things, her A game. She is going to be self-sufficient. She's going to be methodical. She's going to make sure everything is perfect. She's going to do all the things that you don't want to do right now in your business. But she is not going to want to go out for a drink with you at the end of the day. And she's not going to socialize with you the way you're used to. Lo and behold, they have the interview. Client calls me. Tiffany, I don't know. Like, you're right. I really don't like her very much, right? And she's like, but, all right. She gives her the chance. A couple months later, she's like, she's changed my business.
Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, UnifiedLabs.ai, and the host of the Builders Podcast. Here on the Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Tiffany Slowinski. Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
So Tiffany is a Culture Index Exec Advisor at Spark, at Team Spark Advisors?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
I'm the owner of Team Spark Advisors, but I utilize the Culture Index there.
Right. Okay. So you're the owner, but you utilize the Culture Index, and you're an advisor. That makes sense?
We're making it a mouthful, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. No, that's good. So it's interesting because when we always do a little pre-call before we do the big show that we're on now, and you had me take this Culture Index. What do you call it?
Culture Index.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
Okay. So I took it, and then you came in well prepared, and you told me all about myself, or all about me, and you were hyper accurate in like everything. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
What I like to hear, because now I'm like, let me look up his results again and see.
Yes, I was like, yeah, how do you know me so well? So we're gonna get into what that is and how it can be applied to teams and businesses and to do better. With your culture and with your teams and all that good stuff. But before we get into that, dive deeper into that, we like to start, especially when you're on for the first time, to talk a little bit about you, Tiffany, and get to know you a little bit, what your origin story is, kind of what that journey looked like to where you're landed today, and you're doing amazing things in the world.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm doing amazing things. Well, that's yet to be seen. But yeah, my background is I've not really gone in a normal direction like a lot of people. It's a little bit of a zigzag in my career, but I studied journalism and psychology in college and went on to get my master's degree in counseling. And I was actually a high school guidance counselor for 13 years. And from there, started a business, got into advertising sales, and launched magazines. So me and my husband are franchise owners. We own 7 city lifestyle publications in New Jersey and growing. And my experience while there is we started utilizing Culture Index. That's that survey I sent you, Matt, and realizing that if we could get the right people in the right seats, hire the right people, put them in the right roles, and then work with them in the right way, we could grow our business quicker. And so my background in psychology, this immediately resonated with me. And all my time in grad school, I had never encountered anything like this. Sure, I had taken other surveys that existed out there, but a lot of times it's what do you do with that data? You get all this data, that's great, and then you don't do much with it, and it's not particularly effective. And so when I discovered Culture Index and just how the program worked, that really spoke to me, so much so that I started Team Spark Advisors, where I now utilize Culture Index. And so I work with other businesses doing what Culture Index has done for our business. So very much a believer in the process and in the data.
Interesting. So what got you into, like, you said you went to school for psychology and what?
And journalism.
Journalism. So why those two things?
Yeah. While I was in school, I needed something to major in. That was easy. I've always liked writing. I've always been really interested in people. So believe it or not, the journalism and the psych thing is not as far apart as it might seem. I was a really good interviewer. I could uncover things. I could talk to people. And so a lot of what I learned in journalism school was how to interview, how to get human interest stories were always super interesting to me. And then I just started taking psychology classes. And this, I swear, I'm not joking, because I went to Rutgers University, this big school. And the great thing about a big school is there's a lot of options. The downside of a big school is you are sometimes in very large classes. It can be sometimes hard to get the schedule you want. And I think it was like my sophomore year, I couldn't get into any journalism classes that semester. And I was like, well, I got to go to school here. So I randomly just took, I think, Intro to Psychology to fill like a general ed credit. And I loved it. And it was so intuitive to me. I just instantly understood it. And so I decided to pick that up as another degree. And I really enjoyed it. I love the science of people. And that's why I went to grad school at Columbia for psychology. And I got into counseling again because I liked people. And a lot of what I learned through journalism was how to talk to people and how to get them actually to talk to me. And so I used those skills in my counseling. And then in counseling, I learned how to shut up and listen. And I was then able to use those skills when I got into sales. Someone like me could have a tendency towards being impatient and kind of bulldozing, and just learning to sit back and listen and connect with people. So all of this is all worked together, even though it might seem kind of far apart.
No, interesting. I'm just always curious, like what I always, first of all, I find it always interesting when somebody stumbles upon something. They're like so randomly, and that happens more often than you think. Like I talk to a lot of business people and entrepreneurs and stuff. It's like, oh, I did this thing randomly, or I was introduced to this random person, or I took this random class, and suddenly like, oh, I really actually like this. This really connects with me. And but that's how you find your way through the world. You have to randomly do things, and then you be open-minded enough, be like, oh, I really connect with this. I find it psychology is interesting because it's just, when I think of somebody taking psychology, and being interested in humans and how they think and stuff, like where does that come from? Why do you think you connected with it so much?
Yeah, well, understanding my own Culture Index profile now, I'm a huge social. I'm very extroverted. I like people. So that just always spoke to me. And for me, psychology was like a science behind what I already intuitively understood. It felt like I was giving terms to something that just made a lot of sense to me. So even when I was studying and stuff, I just would pick up the concepts rather quickly and could apply them easily. So just an interest level, I would say. I was just very interested in the material. I loved trying to figure out how people work. And then when I got into counseling, why I chose to go into a school district was I liked that there was an element still of advising to it. that I could work with different types of students with different needs. And I liked the college piece of it was kind of fun for me. So I wasn't in a traditional counseling role. I got to also, be an advisor to them and help shape things.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, really at the end of the day, you figured out that you could use this natural talent plus the technical side of it and use that to impact and help people. And because you have that in you too, you want to actually affect change and help people do better in their lives. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean, really, if you look at what I do now, I feel like I'm a guidance counselor for business owners instead.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm using a lot of those same skills. I'm just working with a different population now. And when my clients come to me and they're having issues with their personnel and they need help, I'm a person they trust. And I've got the data, but you could have all the data in the world. If you don't know how to apply it and you don't know what to do with it, then it's gathering dust, right? And so they still need someone who they can trust them to help implement it.
Well, I think it's amazing, and we're going to get to exactly what you're doing and stuff. But I just like to see that thread in life, like where somebody's they learn this thing, they learn the stuff about them and what they like to do, and how that kind of shapes their direction in life. And like what was the bridge? Like what happened where you were a counselor for students and so forth, and then how did you end up on the business side of things?
Yeah. So I was on maternity leave with my youngest daughter and just thinking to myself, like, I need something else in life. I don't think I'm going to do this for another 30 years. Again, understanding myself a little bit better now, I'm not super inspired working in a union, frankly. When I could see exactly, I've taken all the classes I could take. I'm like doing everything to get myself over on this pay scale, but still it's years and dollars, and that's that. And it doesn't really matter how good of a job you do. You see your raise, right, sitting in front of you. And that doesn't motivate someone like me. I like to be in an environment of achievement, and also schools as well for very good reason. I have a lot of rules and regulations, and I've always been wanting to skirt by a little bit more, live in the gray a little bit. And that doesn't exist there. And I understand why, but it's just really not for me. And so I think early in my career, I found it challenging and exciting, and I liked the kids and all of that. I liked coaching. All of that was fun for me. But as I was getting a little further along and I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this for the rest of my life. And so I was just sort of being open-minded to other possibilities. I wasn't specifically hardcore job hunting at all, really. Yeah. And I was on maternity leave, and I came across this Facebook ad that said, we're looking for basically like mommy bloggers in the community that are well-connected, know a lot of people, or have strong communication skills. And I was like, a job post written for me. I was like, I am all these things. This would be perfect. This looks so fun. I always knew a lot of people in town. I was always a part of a lot of things. And so I basically applied to be this mommy blogger, got that position. And as soon as I started, I realized what I really needed to do was go out and sell advertising, or I wasn't going to get too far with this. And so I started connecting with local businesses, selling local advertising for my blog. And I learned all those skills on my own. I was not trained in sales. There was supposed to be a sales rep who was going to sell for me. It worked for the company. And I was like 3 months in, and I'm like, where's the ad revenue? I'm doing all this work over here. Where's the ad revenue? And I'll never forget, there was another woman in another territory who said, well, just go out and sell the ads yourself. And I said, well, what do you mean? I don't know how to sell ads. She goes, what? You're smart. That's not that hard. Just call them up and tell them what you have. So I was like, oh, okay. And so I just started calling businesses and selling ads. Didn't know what I was doing. Self-trained. Started doing it over the phone, and it worked. And then it kept working. To the point that a year later, I could replace my guidance counselor income. And that was really just the goal at that point. Oh, if I could just replace my income. And so I retired from counseling at like the rape age of, I was like 35, maybe. And I was like, I'm out of here. And I just thought I would work from home, blogging and selling local ads. And that lasted about 2 months until one day my husband walked in. It was like 10:30 in the morning. I'll never forget it. I was at my desk working, and he walks in, and I thought somebody died. Frankly, he had this like look on his face. I was like, "What are you doing home?" And he goes, "I just sold my company." And I was like, "You just sold your company? Like, customarily, you would like maybe run that by me,
run that by you
before making a decision,
surprise,
like that. Like what?"
Yeah.
We worked through it. It wound up being a very, very good move. And he was looking for next steps. Actually, he was like, I want to buy another business. Maybe I was going to take a job. He wasn't sure. He starts looking, and he comes across this magazine franchise, City Lifestyle. And again, I'll never forget it. I'm sitting at my computer working, and he comes in. He's like, I want you to look at this magazine franchise. And I was like, I'm working right now. And he goes, I think you'd be really good at this. I'm like, that's great. I'm not the one looking for a job. Why don't you go find something you'd be good at and not something I'd be good at? And I literally like shoot him out of the room. And that's how I get. Like, when I'm focused and I'm working, I'm like, I'm not talking to anybody right now. And so I keep doing my work for like another hour. Finally, okay, little curiosity. I went over. I was like, all right, show me this. What is this? And I start watching these promotional videos on the website. I'm like, this would be awesome. This looks really cool. He's like, I knew you'd like it. And he goes, I already booked an appointment for this afternoon to talk as like a recruiter.
Nice.
So by that afternoon, the two of us are hopping on a call. And my husband was one who had submitted his resume and all of his information. He's talking with the recruiter, and he's like, hey, I have my wife here too. She has this mommy blog. She sells local advertising. And I start talking, and the guy goes, now she sounds really interesting. And this was a Monday. We had a couple of follow-up phone calls. By Friday, we had bought a franchise. I mean,
wow.
it happened that quick because we're both nuts. And we are like, okay, we're going to go into this together. And so that was 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. We became business partners in what I thought was going to be just this little thing that the two of us worked on. We've managed to grow and grow out our team. And a lot of it is due to Culture Index and being able to get the right people on our team to do the things that we're not good at, and to be able to also replicate ourselves. I can only do so many meetings, only be in so many places at a time. And so my husband is the visionary. He comes up with the growth plan, and I'm in there kind of in the action, getting things done for us. But it's been a journey, and it's been a lot of fun. And we're always like, what's next? We'll see. But I know the plan is to keep growing here.
Wow. And you two sound like you're made for each other. I mean,
some days.
Yeah, I know what ebbs and flows. I got a wife too. Interesting. So yeah, that explains everything. Yeah, it's kind of the economic side of it, the being pinned down in a job that's kind of, that doesn't have a really steep curve in terms of challenging you and taking you somewhere. But you're in ambition. Obviously, you're ambitious. You're excited. You want to do, and you talk about the next thing. Like, what are we doing next? That is like kind of the definition of, you're kind of defining what an entrepreneur and somebody that loves business, loves growing, loves all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure because you've probably taken the index. You know all about yourself.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not telling you anything you don't know. Which is kind of cool because, you take the index, you can learn a lot about yourself, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm totally that. So awesome. So let's move into like how you're, so you're using it now. You had that franchise, and then beside that franchise, this is another thing you're doing on the side, and you just you started helping other businesses and teams with the index and stuff like that. You formed Team Spark Advisors, and that was the goal, is to help other businesses apply this. Wait, where did the index come from? Where did you stumble upon that?
Yeah,
where's that coming?
At City Lifestyle.
Okay.
We started using it there. So I was a client first.
And but where was it? Where was it? Some part of that?
Yeah, they had brought in Culture Index to help solve their own people problems.
Oh, okay.
And I had access to it and started working with it.
And then you saw the potential there, or what it was, and
I could see everything. And even looking at my own profile, it was like, this This is explaining everything about me. And it also gives you permission to be you. Because when you get to go to work every day and be who you are naturally, unapologetically, that is so much better than trying to cram yourself into a role that you're not suited for.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure there's millions, billions of people that feel stuck.
A lot of people feel stuck, or I'm typically working with leadership right now. I'm working with the CEO, the owners. But this trickles down. And so there could be apprehension, like, oh, I've had CEOs like, well, what if the people get upset? And they typically know when things aren't going well. Mm-hmm. They sense that too. It's on their end as well. They're not going to maybe come into work and tell you that. But all of a sudden, this gives an opportunity that conversations start opening up about what's going well and what's not. And we can see why. And it's not just, I don't come in and say, oh, let's just fire everyone. It seems like a real lousy team. Nobody's got a good fit here, right? I like to say we work with who we have. So are there certain shifts we need to make? Are there certain pieces of a role that don't make sense for someone? Do we just need to communicate differently? We might have people who are great for a role, but you've now brought in a leader that's not aligned with them. And so you've taken people who were doing fantastic and now are struggling. And now we've got these data points that can show us why that's happening. Okay, what can we do about that? Can we change the way we're communicating, the way we're trying to motivate them? And then now in the hiring process, we know who we have. We have a baseline on the team. Who's going to come in and work well there? Because who's going to work best with me is different than who's going to work best with you, Matt, right? And so by understanding those dynamics, we can hire someone who's going to fit into that.
I love that, because, I mean, not that humans are a bunch of data points, but you know, as you know, somebody that has a team as well, and over the years, you know, it's like, it's not just about matching somebody's resume and what they can do on that resume to the job description. There's a human in there somewhere. There's psychology in there. Everybody's different, and then you put different people together and they work and don't work together well. And I think that's what it sounds like you're kind of solving here. Can you correct me if I'm wrong? Can you talk? Let's describe what the culture index is, because we've thrown that out there a few times. What exactly is it in terms of how it's taken, what it looks like, kind of what's maybe an example of what's included in it, and then we'll go from there. Quick pause to give a shout out to the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and UnifiedLabs.ai. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and offering complete design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong, lasting online presence. Now, through UnifiedLabs.ai, a project I'm really excited about, we're helping businesses tap into the power of AI and automation, designing smarter systems, streamlining operations, and building practical tools that actually work. From audits to implementation, we help brands navigate the AI landscape with clarity and confidence. Whether you need a custom website or you're ready to explore how AI can transform your workflows, visit unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedlabs.ai. Now back to our show.
Yeah, so the beauty of it is it's so simple. It will take you less than 10 minutes to complete, and it is basically a list of words that people are choosing between. For the most part, they don't know what they're even answering, which is kind of the glory of it, of how you're getting to these answers, right? And from there, we can measure 7 work-related traits and who somebody is innately, who they've been since they were a kid. And from there, now you've got to apply that data. So I can see, you know, Matt, when we were talking last time, I'm like, you're a philosopher pattern, right? So you're this visionary who's a little stubborn and wants to do things his own way, likes to move to the beat of his own drum. You like freedom, a little introverted, also problem solver, right? You're analytical, you're strategic, and you're a bit of a daydreamer, right? And I can see those things, right, at a high level. And there's roles then that fit really well for someone who's built like you are. And when we can align you into a role that's meant for you, That's where that magic's going to happen. And then how do we manage you? How much do you like working for a micromanager?
I hate it.
Yeah. And you'll say, a lot of times when I say that to someone with a profile like yours, beyond they'll go like, I hate it. Usually the response is, nobody likes that. Like they almost like have a strong response to it. Nobody likes it. And when you use the word micromanager, there's a negative connotation. But there are a lot of people who actually do like some level of management that gives them some security. They like a little bit of direction, reinforcement. And so when you know that about someone, you can tailor your management approach that way, because we tend to come from a position of thinking about ourselves. So you hate micromanagement. So what do you do when you lead? You don't want to micromanage. You're like, I hired adults for a reason. I'm not going to babysit. I'll let them do their own thing. And that will work fantastically for part of the workforce. And there'll be another part of the workforce that feels like, why is Matt not paying any attention to me and he's not helping me? And so that same exact approach that works really well here can work really poorly over here, and understanding, no, some people are going to need a little more hands-on. They're going to want more of that one-on-one time with me. They're going to want more of that feedback from me. You can tailor that approach where appropriate, so we can maximize the potential of that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so it boils down to the management style. Like for me, I like to have a team that's relatively independent, even though it's, not everybody works out there or sometimes we have to find middle road, depending on what we're working on. But I like to be able, because I'm out here doing my thing, and I want people that can take charge and kind of run their stuff. And yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, you're right. Kind of circling back here, it's not just about this filling out this form and these random words, which is kind of interesting. Probably if you're surprised by it, it's probably have better results, because you know what you can't anticipate. Because when you take something like that, it's like, well, I want this person, whoever receives this, to look at me in a negative light, or I don't want them to look at me in a negative light. So I'm going to choose these things in a specific way. When you just take it organically, the way, just what you think about yourself or whatever, that's interesting. But that gives you data, that gives you graphs. You showed me a graph, I remember. But from that, it's not just that tells you kind of baseline who that person is, but it is the application of that now. Like, how do you use that data? What you're speaking to here. It's now, okay, let's see how, is this person in the right position they should be in? Is there the reason they're having problems? Is it because of this, or we don't have to worry about that person because they're perfectly positioned? They should just keep doing what they're doing, or we give them new tools to do more or whatever. And that's what that's what comes out of this.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I mean, even like you were saying, like you want people who can take charge and be self-starters. We've got data that will tell you that. And so for your team, you need to bring in people like that. So then you don't have to play babysitter either, which is not how you're wired. So the more you align this, it works in both directions. You can build teams around you that make sense. And at the end of the day, why is anybody really doing this? For the most part in business, they're trying to grow companies, right? You're trying to make money. And so if we can make things more efficient, depending on roles, more revenue generating, you get the right salesperson in there, right? You can very easily see an ROI on, wow, this person is outselling everybody else by significant numbers. I mean, there's a true cost to getting these positions right. When you need someone in a visionary seat that can project the future for a company, you need somebody with certain traits in there. And if you've got someone who's too risk averse and can only see in the day to day and is in the weeds, that's going to hurt the future growth potential of the company. That is a big deal.
Yeah, I imagine every company's different. They need different types of people.
Different positions, different size of companies, what their goals are. Again, I'm making an assumption, grow. Not every company is looking to grow. Some are maintaining. Some are trying to maximize their profit. They're not looking at growth, right? And so different people can come into roles that are going to work well.
No, it's interesting. As you were talking about that, one of the other things that, and I guess we can just kind of use micromanaging as kind of an anchor here. Yeah. But when I'm thinking about that, even like, it's interesting because I don't like to be micromanaged. I do not like somebody looking over my head. I want them to trust me that I'm just going to take the project or take whatever and handle it, do a good job. and maybe that's why I expect the same for somebody else, and I want that. And I love the fact that I can let somebody, like some people on my team, like, we don't even talk for a couple of weeks, but I know by the results and the things they're doing and that they're getting stuff done. I don't need to, I know they're motivated. And if they don't have something to do, they're coming to me and asking, Matt, what can I do? I need stuff. That's what I like. But it also translates, I think, to also partnerships and working with like strategic partnerships or like for me, I work with other agencies and stuff, and won't name names, but I worked with an agency recently where they started micromanaging us, my whole team, and what we were doing. And I wasn't used to that, I guess, because the relationships I have with other agencies and stuff, there's this huge trust factor, and it's nothing we do is ever, not that, maybe there is a problem, but it's not, we work through it, and it's just, but that they put a lot of trust on us. And they're not sitting there like counting the hours and making sure that, they trust us. And I think what I figured out in that relationship, which is dissolving, or dissolved.
It will be after this podcast comes out.
But no, I understood. It took a little bit to really go deep into that one, but I understand now that is not a good fit for us, because that's not how we work. And it's just, and so you learn a lot, and that's, but I almost feel like I should give them a culture index. Like and it could be because I love working with smaller agencies that the owners, the founders, where I have a good relationship with them. It's like, yeah, would you mind taking this culture index?
I give it to everybody in my life. They're always like, what is this? I'm like, just take it.
Just take it. Don't worry about it.
But it's the truth, right? It was not a fit for your two companies to work together, and it's offensive to you, right? And at the same time, you're not a fit for them either then.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And you're both better off doing business with other companies that are going to be aligned in how you want to work.
Exactly. Yeah, alignment is really important in that regard. So do you have any examples of where you've applied this with businesses that where they maybe were stuck, lost, or having a lot of problems internally or something, and you came in and you gave them this culture index and what that looked like and how that all turned around?
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is literally what I do every day, right? And here's the truth. We have human relationships. And so we can get blinded a bit by those. And there can be hope. So one client I was working with recently, I just started with them, and this was someone on their sales team who wasn't really performing great. And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised from looking at their culture index that maybe this is not a particularly aggressive hunter to go out and bring in new sales. And they said, well, the person, they're trying to make some tough decisions here. Well, they have improved. I said, okay, they've improved. How long have they been with you? They said 5 years. And I said, and how much have they improved? What are their numbers now versus 5 years ago? And they're like, oh, and they go, and they dig through some data, and the person had improved like 20%. And I said, okay, so it took them 5 years to improve 20%. And I just posed the question, do you want to spend another 20 years to get them up to 100%? Right? It was a decision they knew they had to make.
Yeah.
Yet they had sat on that decision for years. Because there's this hope. Well, I am seeing some improvement, but they're so typically you hear this, they're so nice, right? And this person's failing. This person is coming to work and failing every day in that role. It's not good for them, and it's not good for the company. I had another instance where my clients, they'll laugh sometimes because they won't listen. So they won't listen to the data, right? And then they'll come back later like, okay, now I understand what you were saying. Because I'll always be honest. It's always up to them to make their own decisions. But I will always be honest. And sometimes they try to bully me into like, but don't you think, or what ifs, and I'm like, that's not what the data shows me. You can apply this how you want, but it is my job to be honest with you because that's why you're paying me. And if I'm going to just tell you what you want to hear, I'm providing no value to you. And so I had another client who, against my recommendation, brought in someone for a sales role who was highly experienced, had been a sales manager for a competitor for like 15 years, something like that. I'm like, I don't see it. X, Y, Z reasons why. Fast forward, I think 3 or 4 months later, they let the person go. They said, well, he didn't bring in a single sale, not one. And they said, and you told us that. And he said, yeah, he was a sales manager.
Right, he was good at managing.
He was managing
a sales team, yeah.
He wasn't out there doing it. And so we can get enamored with experience a lot of times, particularly when it's similar industry or competitors, and we're like, well, they must be good. Well, there also might be a reason they're leaving or have left where they were. And we a lot of times we think about our industries like, oh, it's going to take me so much time to train somebody and teach somebody. When you have the right person, they can learn your industry. And I'm not saying to totally ignore experience. That does come into play, especially depending on the level of position, sure. But a lot of this stuff can be transferred across industries when you have the right person in the role. They can learn your business when it's the right person.
Right. And you'll know when you have the right person too. I feel like, I've slotted people into a position and they just blossom, and they may not have, and they don't always have experience or regardless, even if they're in a similar agency or whatever, we do things differently. We do things in a unique way. We are focused on unique technologies and things like that. But the right person is going to be willing to be like, I'll learn that. I'll go and do that. And they'll just figure it out. But at the core, they're really, really good at what they do. But it's like this other layer where they're willing to learn. They're and go for it.
I had another client where they're going through interview rounds for this position. And I said, definitely take a look at that one. And I said, you're probably not going to like her in the interview. She's going to probably rub you the wrong way. I know, because it's very different personality style between the owner and the interviewee. I said, but man, she's going to be on top of things, her A game. She is going to be self-sufficient. She's going to be methodical. She's going to make sure everything is perfect. She's going to do all the things that you don't want to do right now in your business. But she is not going to want to go out for a drink with you at the end of the day. And she's not going to socialize with you the way you're used to. Lo and behold, they have the interview. Client calls me. Tiffany, I don't know. Like, you're right. I really don't like her very much, right? And she's like, but, all right. She gives her the chance. A couple months later, she's like, she's changed my business. She's like, everything you said was right. Yeah. She's like, I was like, yeah, this one's not going to give you the warm and fuzzies. She's not going to wow you in an interview. People like that can be overlooked because she doesn't have great social grace. But man, she's good at that role, and you don't need another friend. You've got plenty of those. Yeah. You're good at that. What you needed was someone to come into your office and take over all that detail work that you were drowning in. Do all that paperwork for you.
That's incredible. That's actually a really interesting insight. Because and that's the hard thing about letting go of people too, because you want to keep this person because you like them. You want to go have a beer with them or have, you enjoy talking to them, but at the end of the day, that person might not be the right fit. And then it makes it really hard to let go of that person or move them into a different role or whatever and have those conversations. So yeah, there's that tension there, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not always, the person that you would have, relax with and do whatever. You don't have, they are going to be there to compliment you. And I think the same way, I keep thinking of like other things. I'm mapping things. There's something about my personality where my brain goes to other places.
You go into the future and you're thinking, how could this apply?
Well, no, I'm even thinking about the past. Like I have a friend who, he's been in a partnership. So partnerships are interesting too. And I think in other ways this can apply. But they're a very interesting partnership because their personalities are very different. But they complement each other so well in terms of, what each brings to the table. Like they don't bring the same things to the table, but together they're really powerful. And they're always like, even when they come together with ideas, they're like, if one shoots the other person's idea down, like, okay. And they like, there's no ego there. There's no, and they don't, I'm sure they clash on some degree, but there's a lot of respect and stuff. But that makes me, this makes me think of that because maybe they're not, compatible in terms of, socially or this or that and the other thing, in every aspect, but they complement each other in the work. And, like when I'm looking for somebody on my team, the best people are the people that are doing things that I don't want to do, or I'm not good at doing. Like I have a particular person that I added to my team a couple of years ago where she loves like anything like repetitive data, like if I tell her I need some reports done on a regular basis for this particular thing, she's all over it. She wants to do it. She's really good at it. And like, not all of us like to, pull data and copy things and do all that. She does. This is like her whole thing. And this is her happy place. And that, but that's her, that's, she fits well there, but it's interesting. I mean, cause teams are complicated and, having the right people in the right seats but also the personalities, but also, understanding if they should be there from the data. And that's what a lot, like I said earlier, like sometimes all you're working with is the resume and maybe an interview or two and a gut feeling and you hope for the best, you test them out. And then a couple months later, you're letting them go or something. But yeah, this seems like a really, really great, addition for a lot of businesses. So how, is there anything else? Like, do you see this evolving at all? Or is AI becoming an important part of this thing too? On the back end, what does that look like? Is this an application you guys use that spits out these graphs for you? And I'm just curious from a technical...
I'm not sitting there plotting graphs myself. Based on over 20 years of data that's been collected. But really, I'm an advisor. I work with companies. There's other surveys. You want to go out and just purchase surveys. You can buy them individually. They're cheap. You can get data. But what I'm doing is now helping you take that data and apply it.
What you do with the data. So it could be... I'm just curious because there's got to be some kind of algorithm or something behind there.
There is, yes. Not my pay grade because I did not make that.
Good. So you're the user of that data, and you help people apply it. That's awesome. So this has been really interesting. Is there anything else you want to add that you think that might help somebody in terms of it's maybe some advice for somebody that has a team out there? Maybe they're struggling. Obviously to work with you, but is there anything that an individual could utilize here from this conversation, what you're talking about, the psychology of things, maybe some advice?
Just know you're not alone. I know socially it's not easy to always come out and say you're struggling in these ways, but I've yet to talk to a business that wasn't having some sort of people problems. I mean, it's universal from large companies down to very small teams of maybe 1 or 2 employees, right? It's a universal issue. And so I've even had people like, I had someone recently tell me like, I'm just a bad interviewer. I want to be good at this, but I don't have time to get any better at this. And like, that's why I'm going to bring in you, because I am clearly doing something wrong here, and they feel bad about it. And I'll tell you, this is what I do for a living. And still, I can have a hard time sticking to my own data sometimes, right? Because it takes discipline to look at data. As humans, we are wired, particularly those of us who are highly social, right? We're wired to want to see like the best in people, and we connect with people and we like them. And I view this like, set them free. If it's just not a good fit for them, I'm not doing them any favors. Bring them in here. Let them go somewhere else where it's going to be a better fit. There is value in every human, but it is also not my job as a business owner to have to employ every one of them. There are other places that are going to be better fits for them, where they'll be happier and more productive as well. So universal issue. Don't feel bad if you're having this problem. And then, of course, reach out to me. I'll give a complimentary survey to anyone that you like. And I'd love to talk through the data, and even just could give you some pointers on yourself and what you might be looking for. Yeah.
That's awesome. So where do they go to connect with you? Where do you hang out on the World Wide Web?
Where do I hang out? I'm at teamsparkadvisors.com, or you could look me up on LinkedIn, Tiffany Slowinski.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tiffany. This has been really interesting. It's opened my eyes. I know more about myself in just the little interactions we've had, but it really makes you think, especially if you have teams and stuff. Like, man, there's a lot more to it than just that resume, and maybe if you're having problems, there's solutions. Yeah. So that's why I should talk to you. All right. Thank you, Tiffany. Until next time.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.